Home is basically at the edge of the map, directly across from where the mom boss is. I'm going to mark it with the X there. X marks the spot. Uncle Steve, that's my name. That name again is Uncle Steve. I've got more mom boss tips for you. That's why this vid is called V2. Howdy, Uncle Steve here, with some new tips for the mom boss fight in case you haven't beat it yet, or unless you want to be able to beat it faster, or easier, or solo. This should help you out. I did something a little bit different in this video. It is a tips video, but I did it in the context of beating the mom boss fight solo. So the video is actually just basically unedited, me beating the mom boss fight solo, and then I tell you in the video where the different tips are. I hope you enjoy this format. I think hopefully it's a little bit more interesting this way. If you enjoy this video, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you can. I totally get that there's a lot of you out there that can't subscribe. So if you can't subscribe, please just do me a favor and check out some more of my long form vids. I really appreciate that. Now, on to some new mom boss tips. I hope you learned something new. I bet you will. So these are the items I would recommend taking with you. You're definitely going to want to take a hook shot, a couple of melee weapons. I'm using baseball bats here, and then a great sword. I don't use the great sword for the same reason as most people use it. I don't really care that much about the extra damage when it's charged. I really like the great sword because it has a lot of collision, which is useful for a couple different things, which I'll show you. So yeah, you can just put your great sword on your back, a baseball bat in either hip slot, a hook shot in your hand, and then you're good to go. I'm also bringing a sticker gun because I'm going to mark home. A theme of this tips video is going to be go home. You're going to need to do that a few times, so I'm going to mark where home is using that sticker gun. I'm going to put an X there. So we're going to see you're going to need this hook shot immediately when I'm going to come in. It's going to be useful. Whenever this thing breaks, it tries to throw me over the edge, so I actually had to use the hook shot there to keep myself from being thrown over the edge as soon as I came into the map. All right, now that the mom boss is coming in, I'm going to show you where home is. Home is basically at the edge of the map, directly across from where the mom boss is. I'm going to mark it with the X there. X marks the spot. So go home. The first reason you want to go home is for when the blocks fall. The blocks don't fall as much around the edges, so whenever you're trying to get out of the way of the blocks falling, you're a lot more likely to be able to get out of the way if you go near the edge whenever the blocks are falling. So that's the first reason you want to go home. Go home for the blocks falling because they usually fall a lot less dense around the edges. Now I'll demonstrate that a couple more times here. It's going to take a few shots. Now this is the second time you want to go home. Go home for the rings. Because the way the rings set up, just with geometry, the way she smashes her hands, if you're in this exact spot, it's really easy to jump over the rings. You don't need double jump. You don't even need to do a particularly high jump. It's really easy just to jump right over the rings if you go back to that home spot. So remember, always go home. All right, we're not going to quite get enough of the correct shapes here, so we're going to have to go home and jump over the rings again. One more demonstration. You see, because the way the rings come at you, the geometry of how she hits them, it's really easy to jump over the rings and not get there. And then again, you see these big wide open spots near the edges there where we were able to get to avoid the blocks. So the next thing I'm going to show you is clearing a path, and that's using this great sword. So sometimes you'll want to get a block and there's other blocks in the way, so you can't get it without, pulling those other blocks in and decreasing your score. So what you can do now is you can use the great sword to get the other blocks out of your way. This also works with other melee weapons, but the great sword has a lot more collision, so it's a lot easier with the great sword. So you see there, got out of the way of the blocks by being at home. Now I have trying to get some of these other blocks out of the way. I'm going to take the great sword out. Oh, not yet, actually. So the other nice thing about the great sword I'm showing here is you can actually use the flat blade to kind of stay on top of the little pot in the middle there that you're trying to pull the blocks to. It can be kind of hard to stand on top of there. I kind of get stuck in it or fall in it a lot, but using the flat edge of the greatsword is a really good way to kind of perch on the edge of it to help out a lot. So here we go, I'm perched on the edge using that blade. Now you see I just got that block out of the way because it was in the way of me getting the block I wanted. So same thing there, I punched some blocks out of the way so that I could get to the block I wanted. I don't think I succeed this time, but you're getting an idea of how you can use the greatsword to knock the other blocks out of your way to more easily access the blocks that you want to get with the hook shot. Now you see there was another thing that the hook shot comes in handy for. If you didn't jump quite far enough, or if you jumped too high even, whenever you do the rings there, you can use the hook shot to bring you back down or to kind of pull you forward so that you don't hit them. So I would say the hook shot is pretty much necessary to do this, especially if you're going to try to do it alone. So back here, go home, and you see very easy to jump over the rings, go home for the blocks, and should be pretty easy to avoid them. Lots of open space there. All right, here we go. Now I got to get some squares in here. I think this time I'm going to use the blade to help get some of the other shapes out of the way. I could be wrong, though. The sword, not the blade. Oh, didn't do it that time. All right, back home for the rings. Easy peasy jump over them. Back home for the blocks. Pretty easy to get out of the way. Again, especially using the hook shot. All right, now one more try with the shapes here. So yeah, here is where you can see had those purple ones over by the edge and the other ones are in the way, so I was able to knock those other ones out of the way using the greatsword so that I could grab the purple ones more easily. So you could definitely see there where it was helpful to have them. Now, I'm a little bit colorblind. That's why I had trouble there. I wasn't sure which of those were purple and which of those were blue. So I do better with the shapes in this than I do with the colors. I think I'm going to get past this shapes thing pretty soon, though. So bear with me just a little bit longer, and you'll see a pretty good... Yeah, see here how I'm able to get both of those blocks out of the way so that I could reach that purple one? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get to the purple one. Oh, it still didn't help, though. All right, one more time over the rings. I'm sorry if y'all are getting a little bored. I'll put in the timestamp where you can skip to. I think you've already kind of figured out what's going on here, but if you want to stick around and watch me actually use this method to get them, it shouldn't just be another minute or two longer. I think I get all the shapes within the next, like, 2 tries here. Yeah, I got it that time. And you can see again where I use the great sword to knock the other shapes out of the way. All right, so here we're going to do some dancing. I'm going to explain to you how the dancing works, and maybe I'll do like a split screen. So what you really want to do to make the dancing work, and this works for me 100% of the time. I've heard people talk about wiggling your arms in the air or something. That doesn't really work that well for me. What I like to do for the dancing is whenever they put their arms, both arms in the air, both arms to the side, that's pretty easy. The real problem is whenever there's one arm up and one arm down. So what I do in that case, I put the correct arm up, but then the arm that the mom boss has down, I actually put that arm in by my chest. So I hold it in by my chest, kind of like you're like crossing it over your heart, like you're covering your heart with your hand, like you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance or something. That's what I find that works really well for the dancing. And I'm pretty much able to complete the dancing 100% of the time. So that's my dancing tip for you. I actually did it in my other video also, but it's a super OP tip that you really need to put your one hand over your chest whenever you're dancing, whenever she only has one hand in the air. Don't put the other hand down by the side like she does. Put that offhand by your chest, and you'll be able to get it every single time. And you should be able to see that here. I know you can't see me dancing much here, but you can see that I'm getting it 100% of the time using the method that I'm telling y'all. All right, so there we go. Got it again. Go back home just in case anything bad's happening. So once again, you see those shapes didn't fall anywhere near me because I had gone home, was living on the edge. And now finally, I think I'm going to make this work. Maybe it's going to take 1 or 2 more times. Yep, see, using that great sword to get things out of the way so that I could get the blocks that I wanted. One more time, how well that works. And I think I managed to get it there. Yep, without that great sword, I don't think I would have been able to, but because I was able to use the great sword to move those other blocks out of the way, I was able to get all the blocks I needed. So again, I really like the great sword, not because it's such a great melee weapon, but because the collision really helps move those blocks out of the way. And then you're going to see a little bit longer, or a little bit later, it also helps a lot with the marbles too. So here in the zombie fight, it's also good to go home and try to kind of stay there, and that's for a couple reasons. One reason is you want to be on the edge at some point, so it's just a good place to orient yourself by the edge. And you want to be on the edge so that the zombies don't sneak up behind you. That's whenever I find myself dying in this zombie fight mostly, is whenever the zombies sneak up behind me. Now I did something there real quick, I don't know if you saw it. I actually threw my other extra baseball bat into the middle. So the reason I bring an extra melee weapon here is that if you die and you go over the edge, your weapons go over the edge with you, and then even if you can come back in the middle of the fight, you all of a sudden don't have a weapon, so it makes it really, really difficult. So what I like to do is whenever this starts, I chunk my extra melee weapon into the middle there, and that way if I do die and get knocked over the edge, then whenever I come back, I at least have one melee weapon to work with. Alright, so the other thing I'll say about going home here, we're going to go back home, and that is that it also seems to help you from getting hit by the hands. If you're just like randomly around the map, you have to try really hard to stay out from under the hands. If you're kind of over here in this home base area, she almost never brings her hands down right there. So another good reason to go home during this is to avoid the hands. So yeah, it helps you to not have zombies sneak up behind you, and it helps you to avoid the hands whenever she brings them down. Now I will say as I'm going through here, what I actually prefer for this part of the map is I prefer using a revolver and taking a backpack with some ammo in it. You don't need a ton, but you do need a few because you don't get quite enough ammo from killing the zombies. And I prefer to use a revolver to kill the zombies and then have a melee weapon in my other hand, and I'll use that to take care of any remaining zombies and to do the fingernails. I'm a pretty good shot with the revolvers, and I find it a little bit more fun too. But it is more expensive to do it that way, and you have to have the auto reloads unlocked or it's not really feasible. So even though that's what I prefer, I'm showing you in this one how to do it with just melee weapons, because I figure that's going to be more accessible to more people, and it's going to cost quite a bit less, because I think the revolver costs 10,000 nuts and reloads cost like 1,000 nuts each. So doing it with melee weapons will definitely cost less, and you don't have to have auto reload unlocked, because if you don't have the auto reload skill unlocked, I think it would be really, really difficult to do it with revolvers. I'm not going to say impossible, almost nothing's impossible, but really, really difficult. So here, yeah, you just want to, you know, keep beating up the zombies and hitting the nails whenever you have a chance. Definitely kind of prioritize the zombies because they're what's most likely to hurt you. And then once there's no more zombies, or if you're able to kind of go between the zombies and get the nails, get those. Sometimes you won't be able to kill all the zombies first. You'll have to do nails and zombies at the same time. All right, so here we got her nails. I think she's done with that. So next we're gonna go to either pillows or marbles. I forget what first. Pillows, pillows, pillows. All right, this is the next tip. This is pillow priority. Whenever you get to the laser and the pillows, you need to immediately find the pillow. Don't worry about the zombies. The zombies are gonna die whenever she does the laser, and there's usually an MRE in the middle that spawns here too. So even if you get hurt a little bit by the zombies while you're going to get the pillow, you need to make the pillow your #1 priority. Pillow priority. All right, now here we're back again with the marbles. And this is where the going home helps again. So if you're on the edge with the marbles, you can see if they're coming at you, and you're much less likely to get hit by one of the marbles. This is also where the greatsword is a really nice melee weapon to have. Oh, you see here, I just got knocked off the edge. I'm not sure what happened there, but this demonstrates why I put that other melee weapon and threw it into the middle. You see, because I flung that other baseball bat in the middle, even though I got knocked off the edge here, my weapons aren't going to be there anymore, but that baseball bat that I threw into the middle is still going to be there. So just a quick trip through the daycare here. Try to avoid the scary clown. Can't stop. Clown will eat me. Can't stop. Clown will eat me. All right, back into the fight. So now that I'm back in, you see my greatsword that I was holding has gone over the edge, but that baseball bat that I threw into the middle earlier is still there right in the middle. So now I can grab that baseball bat, take up a spot in the edge, and try to defend myself again. Now I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. The marbles make these red tracks on the floor so you can see where the marbles are going to go, and you can try to either get out of the way, or when I have the greatsword, I actually try to get into the way of the marble and then just hit it back to where it came from. It doesn't work as well with the other melee weapons. That's, again, a reason that I like the greatsword. Oh, pillow priority. Grab that pillow fast. Grab the pillow fast. And you see I'm getting killed by zombies a little bit. They hurt me a little bit, but they all died as soon as the laser went off. And there was an MRE that spawned there, so I'll be able to eat that MRE if I get hurt by the zombies. I'm also getting hurt by the marbles a little more here than I normally do, but again, I have that MRE, so it's all good. And I didn't get to demonstrate it great before I died a second ago, but the greatsword really is great for being able to deflect the marbles back the way they came. So what I like to do is when I have the greatsword, I'll get right into the path of the marble and I'll deflect it back. But again, always staying by the edge. You don't want anything to be able to sneak up behind you. You want to be able to watch everything that's going on. So I like to get there by the edge, get that greatsword, and I'll punch it back with the greatsword. And there we go. So I hope these V2 tips help you beat the mom boss if you haven't already, or maybe help you solo it better, or just help you beat it more times or faster. Thanks for watching. Peace.